previously we talked about, like, say, the NES and how, like, it was a bit of a huge success for the gaming industry in the 80s and all that. So today, we're looking at its younger brother, Super Nintendo, and how, it was awesome in a way, but at the same time, it had a bit of controversies. Let's talk about it.
When you decide to step up to this kind of power, this kind of challenge, this kind of flying, crashing feeling, when you decide to get serious, there's only one place to come: the games of Super Nintendo. No one else creates this kind of experience, because no one else creates these kinds of games. Now you're playing with power, superpower.
SNES NES was released in Japan on November 12th, 1990, in North America in August 23rd, 1991, the UK on April 11th, 1992, EU on June 1992, and many other countries as the years would go by. Several years, that is. One of the things that makes this little system different in a way is, well, in many ways, honestly, when you look at it, though, is it has a bit of a smaller design than its older brother, in a way. Because, like, say, look at this. This is a lot slimmer kind of machine. And so are the games as well. Whether you have, like, say, something like, say, Star Trek Academy Fleet, Jurassic Park, or heck, even the Donkey Kong Country series. And compared to the NES, the SNES was 16-bit, meaning, basically what it means by 16-bit, it was in a way, it says, like, bigger the bits, basically what 16 bits is better graphics in a way, but, that was, like, a different era, so, whereas, like, say, for the NES, like, you'd have, like, good graphics for some games. But it meant, in a way, you're going to have a bit of a higher definition. And when it comes to games, there was no shortage of them. And the system actually had a ton of them that were huge selling points for it. Like previously stated, like, there was 3 games that were released for the SNES in the Donkey Kong Century. Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong, I believe. I only have the first 2, but they are kind of hard games. If you're looking for a racing game for the SNES, then you would look for games such as F-Zero, or perhaps you're wanting it with the flagship character, go on to Super Mario Kart.
Let's go racing! It's Super Mario Kart Funny Car Madness! Only on Super NES! Turn the track into a giant mud pit! Or burn rubber on ice, wood, or asphalt! Fly! Mix it up with the big boys! See Bowser in his Bigfoot dropping truck! See Yoshi's go-kart really go! Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shells! Dynamite! Check your rear view and make him eat dust! Or go into battle mode and ruin his day! 2 speeds! Fast and way too fast! It's 2-player fun on the split screen! Only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System! Now when you're playing with power, super power!
Those are both 2 games that I have not ever played, so yeah, I cannot really say, hey, if those games were, like, you know, good selling points for the system. And with the system, like, you know, you'd have, like, say, other games that were probably more upgrades to the system that probably, like, say, you would get, especially around this time for the spooky season, like Castlevania 4. Or also known as Super Castlevania 4. One of the things that also makes the, you know, system a bit different from its younger brother, or older brother, like say, was its use of its controller, with more added with super buttons. In this case, the X, A, Y, B buttons, shoulder buttons, and a start and select button. Another little bit of like add-on that you could do when it comes to the NES was the Super Game Boy. The Super Game Boy was a peripheral that could be used with the system, like say, just pop it in, like say, hey, you want to play a game that's for your Game Boy Color? Yes, like say, Men in Black. Some games, like, you know, you could use this peripheral for. I don't believe you could do it for, like, say, Game Boy Color. I tried, it didn't really work. I wish it had. I think it's, like, say, only certain games that were work with it.
You've been inducted into the most secret organization the world has never known, the Men in Black. Your mission? To protect the Earth from the scum of the universe. So grab your noisy cricket and blast some aliens. But watch out, some look just like your next door neighbor. Men in Black, the series for Game Boy Color. This game works on any Game Boy system.
But yeah, this was a, you know, peripheral that could always work with it too. You would always have the other ones, like say the Zapper and all that stuff. They could also be working with the system. However, one of the things that probably parents were a little bit frustrated when it came to the system, though, would be the use, how much the system would actually cost. Compared to the NES. The NES cost $179, but then adding taxes would be $180. But this little, or big boy, would probably be costing yourself $199. Which, I mean, if you still add in all that little, those things like taxes and all that, that would also add into another, like, you know, to $200 perhaps.
Nintendo has introduced some hot new toys, but have things gone a bit too far? This evening, Ken Shockney wraps up a special report on Video Mania.
Does this really have to cost this much? Where should the anger be directed? Not at the parents, but at the manufacturer.
So it has come to this. Therapy sessions for families whom you could call Nintendependent.
First of all, the peer pressure starts. I feel maybe exploited.
And then you would also have to add in the like necessity of adding the games for this system, so you would have to deal with that probably if you were a parent during that time frame getting this system for your kid, or perhaps you're getting it for yourself. And yeah, like I'd say, like, you know, as a parent, you'd probably say, this is ridiculous. Why can't the kid just keep on playing with the one that we got a few years ago with that one. That one's still getting games, but why can't they do that? Kind of deal. Looking back at it, like say, I would love to play some of this if I could actually find the all the coordinates I need for this. I had actually found this little guy out of someone had tried to throw this away outside of my apartment complex, so that's how I was able to get it. I did have a Retron 3, but it's kind of fried, so I'm having to just, do what I can to try to, get all the components that would be necessary for this system. But, did you grow up with the Super Nintendo? Did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? Were you more of a fan of the NES, or were you more of a fan of the Sega Genesis? What was your thoughts growing up of the Super Nintendo? Perhaps you were a big fan of Bass Masters Classic. Or perhaps you're more of a fan of the Jungle Book. But there was like a lot of games that were released on the Super Nintendo when it came to Disney games, whether it was like, say, Aladdin or the Lion King. But I'll see you next time.